Hello and welcome to Hyundai Tucson presents Boss's Day Out. This is a program for a new India, a young India where we talk about a spirit of entrepreneurship of a new generation of CEOs. CEOs who really redefined their workplace. Why? Because they've got new ideas, they've got a new vision, and they're making a real mark, not just here in India, but around the world. On this program, join us as we talk to these CEOs. We go to where they work to learn about some of what's making them redefine Indian industry. Our ride for this program, the Hyundai Tucson. Well, we're on our way to meet our CEO of the day. He's just 30 years old. But in this India, a 30-year-old can also achieve spectacular success. At the age of 30, the CEO and founder of Vahdam has in fact been able to achieve what many others twice his age have not been able to. This is a brand that focuses on teas, it focuses on herbs, and it also focuses on other items which it believes India needs to bring to the world. The world's leading brands are in fact foreign brands. They aren't Indian brands. There are many middlemen who are involved in the process. What Vahdam wants to do is essentially ensure that an Indian brand sells the best, the finest teas at the finest stores all over the world, and it's known as an Indian product. But over a period of time, it's not just teas and traditional teas that Vahdam has been looking at. They've also been looking, for example, at blends, which bring in products such as turmerics, which they believe reflects the needs, the aspirations, the tastes of a new generation of consumers. All of this is being done from across the country. They are a truly pan-India network. They get the finest teas, the finest blends from across the country, and they have a strong social consciousness as well. So we are on our way now to meet the 30-year-old CEO and founder of Vahdam India, Bala Sarda. How heavy or how hectic are your days usually?
It's generally hectic. I think it's since we started, it's been becoming better, but it's generally very hectic. I start my day early though,
Right.
And given we have a global business, we have a lot of our late calls happening in the US and Europe later. But I think
So you take calls late at night, right? I mean, that's part of the job. Huh?
Absolutely. But if you love what you do, it does not feel.
So
like
we woke you up a bit early, but anyway. Super. So let's get headed.
Absolutely. After coming.
Well, it's wonderful to actually be with you now as we head to your office. One of the really interesting things you were telling me earlier on is that this is made in India for the world, and an Indian brand story which has really not been told. I mean, we've been exporting tea for yonks, but it's never been an Indian brand that's really made an international impact. How is that your goal?
No, absolutely, Vishnu. I think honestly that's really the vision with which we started Vahdam India. I think more than building a business, I think the real force which drives us every day at Vahdam is how can we take this amazing product which comes from India, originates from India, take it to the world under a proud homegrown label which can also give back to the value chain, right? When I was looking at the industry, I said, hey, right, unlike fine wine or liquor, tea loses flavor with time. Better tea is tea which is more fresh, right? There is a high trust with origin products globally, right? That's how we have been brought up. So why don't we have an Indian brand who can take this to the world.
And you've also had incredible success. For example, Oprah is somebody, Mariah Carey is somebody else, and Ellen DeGeneres. They've also recognized Vahdam. So that's huge global recognition. What does that feel like?
No, it feels incredible. I think for us, they are one of the many customers we have, and it's obviously extremely validating to see somebody like an Oprah who's known to love Indian chai, to finally endorse a homegrown Indian brand. I think makes us very proud.
So it started in Darjeeling, not necessarily for you, but for your family.
Yes.
85 years back, you were in the tea business. And when you started getting around to looking at business, you didn't necessarily want to get into tea. But it kind of happened, right? How did that happen?
That's so, Vishnu. Honestly, from the outside, tea looked like a very, very boring business to be in. Extremely commoditized. And, that's how I even saw a part of my family business also was about bulk exports and, no real value addition. And that's how the industry in India was. So while I always had the entrepreneurial bug and I had done a few companies even before I started Vahdam, so I knew I wanted to create value and do something of my own. But it's only when I started looking at multiple industries, one of them of course being tea, given my background, when I was sure that this is the time I need to now go and really do my real startup, is when I realized that there's an incredible opportunity to add value and build a brand, and most importantly create impact for the millions of people who are involved in this industry. And that's how I decided to take the plunge.
We'll talk about that in a moment, but why have you called it Vahdam?
That's an interesting story. Most importantly, it's the reverse anagram of my father's first name, Madhav. I of course draw a lot of inspiration from him in everything I do. So I thought, no better way. No better way.
This is your idea.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Okay. That's nice. That's really interesting. You were talking a little bit about freshness of the product itself. The way tea is now exported and let's talk a little bit more about that. It goes from one middleman to the other. It's finally packaged and sold. And I think one of the key USPs of your product, when it comes to tea certainly, is freshness. So how is that assured?
So Vishnu, traditionally, if you look at the supply chain of tea, right, it's extremely broken and fragmented. You have all these amazing growers across several tea growing regions in India, like your Darjeeling, Assam, Nilgiri, Kangra, Duor, Sikkim, right, who make the absolute best teas. But what I realized was when I went to foreign markets, and I obviously growing up have tasted teas in the gardens, the same tea tasted very different in a market like America or Europe. Right?
Why would that be the case? Just the age of the product, of the tea, or
more around? One is of course the age. I think the multiple middlemen who were in between. So tea was passing hands across multiple middlemen, right, from a farmer to an auction house to a broker to an exporter. Then somebody would import it, multiple layers there, and finally the customer gets it. That's number one. And number two was, my sense was, how do you even reimagine the supply chain of tea, right? How do you, we at Vahdam think of tea as something which is perishable, right? Even though tea generally has a longer expiry, so it does not go bad, rather it, the freshness goes away. So, but we said, can we reimagine that and think of it as a product which is perishable, and imagine our supply chain like that, right? And if you'll see our factory, right from the fact that we source these teas within days of harvest in the gardens, get it to our facility. There's obviously a lot of work we do behind the curtains, which we will show you at the factory to ensure that the tea is absolutely fresh. And of course, there is no middleman, right? So we source direct. We have our own distribution in these markets we sell in, like US and Europe, which ensures that customers get a fresh product, which is as fresh as you would imagine it in the gardens.
How do you go about picking the best teas?
What we do is we work with several gardens, right? So we work with over 150 plus estates across these growing regions in India. Sample pretty much hundreds and hundreds of teas every week, and then bases our own parameters around liquor, taste, aroma, leaf size. Our tasters finally choose the products which ultimately bear.
And you're one of the tasters.
Absolutely.
You spend a lot, and you're going to show me that, right?
Of course, 100%. I think you just can't run a business like this without actually being involved in. That's really one of the core differentiators, or something honestly which keeps me excited about the business as well. But absolutely, I still sort of, work with the NPD team very closely, taste pretty much every product we launch, all the teas we have on a regular basis to ensure that, we're being consistent.
There'll
with
be lots of
what
tea
we
drunk
offer.
by the time we're done with this program,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
But can you tell the difference between two Darjeelings?
Oh, 100%. I think that's truly my number one job more than anything else.
And I think one of the most interesting things about what you are doing in your business is that you're reaching out to families of tea workers, their children. And I think this is so important because the tea industry in India has been distressed for all sorts of reasons. Salary structures have remained stagnant. People want to sell off their tea estates. How are you trying to value add to that for the people on the ground?
While we of course build the business and there is this macro impact which can come in and which will play around, and we are seeing the impact happen as we speak, how can we actually help people on an everyday basis, right? And for that, on our third Founders Day, which is 4 years back, we actually launched our flagship social initiative called Teach Me, where we dedicated or allocated a minimum of 1% of our revenue towards the education of our tea growers' children. So these are people who can, of course, not afford a high quality education, and we said, can we bring equality there?
Yeah.
And we've been able to sort of touch the lives of almost 11,000 children today, as of today. But I think there's so much more we can do going forward.
But we've been talking about Darjeeling, but you're also obviously into Assam tea. You're into teas from the south of the country as well. So this is well and truly an all India initiative as far as bringing people in the West, India's best tea, which is the world's best tea.
Absolutely. So Vishnu, I think our vision, I think the core or the why, right? I mean, we can sell anything, but why are we doing what are we doing is to take the best of India to the world under a proud, ethical, homegrown label. That's really what we want to do. And if you really look at these products, right, I was mentioning this to you that even spices for that matter, right, tea is of course there, but spices, India is one of the largest producers and exporter of spices, right? 80% of the world's turmeric, for example, is made in India. So we have started with tea, but the idea is, the vision is to take some of these products like teas, herbs and spices to consumers globally, right? Retain value in India. And of course, all of these products have an underlying wellness benefit, right? They help you live a more holistic, better life. So any product under that domain is what we ultimately want to do at Vahdam with our principles.
So let's talk a little bit about herbal teas, green teas, and not just the traditional varieties of teas. How is this something that you constantly adapt, you constantly work towards blending, and constantly look at what people may be interested in drinking?
Right.
And
so
that's what you do, right?
Absolutely.
You identify what people may want in terms of tastes evolving over a period of time.
So we at Vahdam, of course, do a lot of innovation around tastes, flavors, aromas, ingredients, while of course we do your typical Darjeeling, your English breakfast, your Earl Grey, your chai, and everything which a consumer would have. But with that, how do you cater to the new age consumer, right? So for example, we launched our range of turmeric wellness teas approximately 3 years back, right? I think a year or two before the pandemic. That's been one of our best selling products in some of these markets, right? We're doing a bunch of innovation around superfoods like ashwagandha, adaptogens like tulsi,
right.
Mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms, and a lot of these herbs which people don't know about but are upcoming. And how do you ensure that they are all available in a convenient format for you to consume like a tea? So that's really what we do.
It's not just putting tea or putting herbs in a packet and selling it. It's actually valuing something, the product that you're trying to sell, because there's a story over there. There's a lesson over there, and for you, I suspect that's what it is. It's not just marketing and making money. It's about the entire experience of the business, from where it starts to where it ends.
No, 100%, Vishnu. I think honestly, the kind of products we are selling, and if you look at our story, right, I mean, we are extremely authentic with what we are saying, right? I mean, we know why we are building this brand. We know what are the products we want to sort of make available to consumers. And, if you follow those values and principles as a brand, then, be it teas, be it herbs, be it spices, at some level it's the same playbook, right? Where you talk to your vendors, where you care for your vendors, where you talk to your farmers, and then of course at the same time you make products which the consumers want while ensuring that your supply chain is ethical and sustainable and can keep going on without really impacting even the environment, for example, right? So
All right, Bala, hold that thought. We're going to take a short break, after which we'll be right back with Hyundai Tucson Presents Boss's Day Out. Welcome back to Hyundai Tucson Presents Boss's Day Out. We're talking to Bala Sarda. He's our CEO of the day. He's the CEO of Vahdam. It's a company that's made a huge mark in terms of bringing Indian tea under an Indian brand to a larger international clientele. Right, Bala. So let's continue with that conversation. Let's talk about the environment. All your products are environmentally friendly in terms of the packaging, right? Or how do you focus on the environment?
We are, Vishnu, we are a climate neutral and plastic neutral certified brand. So we recycle more than the plastic we consume in our packaging. Our entire carbon footprint, right? So being a digital brand, of course, we deliver shipments to consumers' doorsteps globally. So how do you offset that carbon impact, right? So for that, we became carbon climate neutral certified, right? And we offset, of course, our entire carbon footprint through investments in renewable energy initiatives across India. But that said, I think it's a process, and we've obviously put some aggressive targets for us internally to ensure that can we also move towards plastic-free packaging over the next few years. Can we reduce our climate footprint, carbon footprint every year, while of course we offset whatever we sort of onset right now as a business. Everything under one roof. We were thinking of having an office in South Delhi because a lot of people work there and have a factory here. But having all of this under one roof makes my life.
So if you think we're looking like surgeons, it's because we are entering a sterilized area. So are we going to be conducting surgery, or what is it that we're seeing over here?
No surgeries here, just some aromas of fresh teas and ingredients.
It smells wonderful. In fact, your entire office does. I mean, it smells of herbs and spices and tea all sort of blended together.
It is, it does, it's heavenly.
You've got what, tea from all across India over here? Where
yes.
am I right?
So we are actually in the warehouse,
right,
where we store our teas in a dehumidified setup. All our teas, like I said, right, sourced direct from farms, and as soon as we get them to our facility here in NCR, we then vacuum pack them, right? So all the teas inside are vacuum packaged and then obviously stored in a temperature controlled.
Can we enter here?
We can, yeah. So like I said, right, I think, good premium tea, if you play around with it too much with machines, it breaks, right? So some of our teas, we have a manual cleaning process, apart from, of course, the overall quality processes we run it through.
So what is she doing over here?
She's actually cleaning all the stalks from the leaves. If you see, most modern brands, you will find all of this is a part of the tea leaf, right? But example, this is a stalk, which actually makes the tea bitter. So, how do you sort of throw this out of the tea and then ensure that this is what our customers
So that's
get.
what she's trying to
Yes,
to
that's
do,
what
to
she's
throw
doing.
the stalk out.
Yeah, the stalks and the impurities.
And the impurities.
Yeah.
What tea is this?
This is a black tea from Assam. You see the golden tips? That's what you find in Assam.
This is Assam tea.
This is an Assam
Black tea
tea.
from Assam. And just tell me how you identified.
So Assam teas tend to have a specific texture, and that's why I
Right.
could identify. But you also have these golden tips,
I see.
you know,
Right.
which are very typical
And
of an
you
Assam
are
brand.
able to identify tea just by looking at it.
I think so. Yeah. After all these years of trying to sell tea, I think I can.
Right,
Most
fantastic.
of the times. Yeah. You see a blender right behind you.
Ah, I see. And this is where you blend. And how many different teas would you blend?
We currently have almost 100 varieties of teas. Some of them are straight, some of them have up to 40 ingredients. And you know, we use a blender like this to ensure that they're consistent in every batch.
Wow. And what's happening over here with the turmeric?
This sieving.
And this turmeric would be used in what product?
Across, we do
Across.
turmeric lattes. You know, we have a lot of our instant chai which have turmeric in it. And I think Vishnu, these are the nuances, right? Like extremely small thing, but you know, this consistency which it comes, you know, when you do a process like this, this makes a big difference in the quality, the experience. And that's what we try and sort of ensure in every ingredient we pack.
I mean, I keep repeating it because I've never been to an office which has this fragrance. And you know, I've been to 3 parts of this floor, and all 3 parts smell different. But it's incredible because you know, you've got this wonderful aroma of turmeric over here, Assam tea in both the other areas, and a blend in terms of the fragrance for other parts. Incredible. So it's been fantastic, everything that you've showed me. It's wonderful to see a young, dynamic leader like you, truly inspirational.
Thanks, Vishnu.
What drives you personally to the next?
Firstly, thanks Vishnu for having me on the show. I think what drives me and the entire team is the vision, or rather the dream, to create India's most recognized brand in global markets. Like I
Right.
said, India deserves a brand, especially in this category. And I think on that journey, I think we have so many more customers to reach, so many countries to touch, so many products to launch, and hopefully so many lives to also impact here in India. So that's what really drives us
Super.
every day.
Good luck with that. Thanks
Thank you.
very much for
Thanks,
being with us.
thanks
Thanks
for
very much
having me.
indeed. Thank you. See you.